Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Border City Rock Talk, where you get the best news and interviews. Today I'm going to diversify the channel. I usually interview rock stars, as you know, but I've got another rock star of sorts, Marty Turco. Before we get to Marty, local boy here in the Soo, this will go on the Soo Greyhounds website as well. Coming up, I got Harry Shearer, voice of 5 of The Simpsons, star of This Is Spinal Tap. I've got Mike Reno, a lover boy, King Diamond's coming up. Kevin O'Hara and a few others. So before I do, hit that subscribe button, smash it. It's a guitar logo on your right, and it doesn't cost you anything. It just informs you when I got these interviews coming up. So without further ado, I've got Marty here. How are you doing, Marty?
I'm great, Ernest. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, not too bad. I remember growing up, and one of the things over the years I noticed, and I mean, we get our lives take paths, and I didn't realize that you had that growth spurt. Like I remember playing on Bomer Boulevard with you, and we were playing in front of the Gallows house and stuff, and you're always little, and I didn't realize you just sprouted. When was that growth spout?
No, it was late, man. It was really late. I did going into high school, I wasn't even 5 feet. So I remember the All Ontario Championships that we had in Timmins that year. As a 8th grader, last year of Pee Wee, I was crap. I don't even know if I was 4'10". Old Brad Park, long time NHLer, great defenseman with the Rangers, a few other teams, but
Boston, I think, yeah.
Yeah, in Boston too. He made fun of a few of us at the banquet that year at the All Ontario Championships. He told us to stand up, and obviously we did. But he's like, yeah, it was a terrible joke. I said, if I ever see this guy again, I'm going to give it to him. And I ended up a couple of decades later in the bathroom in a urinal beside him at Brad Park. And I'm like, hey, Brad, Marty Turco told him about the speech, and he started laughing. He's like, goes, it's tough as an old guy trying to lighten up the crowd. I'm like, nah, don't worry, I got over it many years ago. But man, I was a small guy, and wasn't until 10th grade at St. Mary's where I started, I think after my grade 9 started growing, but I didn't stop until sophomore year college, man. So I was 20 years old. I kept growing. Really? So I was 5'10" at 19 when I got to college in Michigan, and almost grew another inch pretty much after that. And I gained 30 pounds while I was in college. So yeah, I took an interesting route, but it was tough. But once I started getting some size in the net, as an athlete, and put some weight on, get some muscle, that's when things started turning for the better.
You're over 6 feet though, no?
I'm 6 now, yeah.
Yeah, I knew that I read that before. So do you, growing up, I remember us playing and stuff, and I remember for some reason you didn't attend a lot of the Hound games, because I would go, and I know obviously that was because you were practicing all the time. Is that accurate?
I was practicing a lot.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah,
I preferred to be playing.
Yeah,
whether it be at Mr. Zook's or Esposito Park or somewhere in our neighborhood. My dad, my backyard, we had a rink. But as I got a little bit older in high school, and I just really started paying attention more to hockey. Even before that, we billeted guys. We had Dan Ferguson from that great draft year of Adam Foote and Bobby Bugner. Fergie was a East Coast guy. He lived with us. Colin Ford for a little while. Yeah. So having those guys live in the house, and to me, they were just larger than life, even though they're 18, 19, 20-year-old guys. They were just, they're men, beards on and just living a different life. So I looked up to them, looked up to the Hounds, went to a lot of hockey games. And, I remember sitting in the end zones watching Sean Simpson in goal and those guys that, there was no nets back then, right? And pucks would just be flying up to the top of the old gardens, and so
that was real hot.
Dodging pucks. It was great, man. I just rough and tumble back then. We had a lot of skill. We had some good teams, good runs, and then so I did. I think I attended a lot of games. From my perspective, but that's Memorial Gardens is just such a special part of my childhood, from going to Hounds games, playing big games in there in the Great North Midget League, or playing against the contractors when we were Legion. So man, it was great memories for sure. But and just having those guys live with us too. Kylie Hill lived at our house. who was my age.
Yeah.
You know, so it was something that would have been a dream of mine if I would have got a chance to play for the Hounds for sure.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So, do you follow the Hounds a bit? I know you're in Texas and you've got everything else on the go, but I mean, through maybe Stacy or Nikki or, I mean, obviously the internet, do you keep track at all, or?
I do, especially when, you know, I got buddies that are involved with it. So, you know, Denny Lambert is a coach. I spent a lot of time on the ice with Denny and having beers with him while we were both in the NHL together. So when you had guys like that around, I thought it was great. And now that, you know, we lived in the Soo, the family mostly did. I was, you know, working in Toronto doing NHL network.
Yeah.
And some TSN. So that year I skated with the Hounds. I was still trying to play. And, you know, so obviously Dubas was the GM at the time. We had, you know, a young Matt Murray in goal. And so I kind of got reestablished with the group then. And, you know, they let me skate with them every day when I was in town. So that was really great. And so I do pay attention to them now that, you know, Tim Lukenda, I don't know Tim, you know, super well by any means, but I'm always a fan of the Greyhounds. You got great jerseys, great history. You're not just growing up, but I got to practice with the guys when Kevin Hodgson hurt his hand.
Wow.
Right at the beginning of the playoffs, I think the guys were playing Niagara Falls. Fogarty on the team, Manny Legacy was their goalie. You know, Ticker broke his hand, and so they called me like, "Hey, do you want to walk down after high school and practice with us?" You know, Tony Alb and Chris Simon, the guys just used to wail on me, and they're like, "Man, you're crazy. You love this." I'm like, and I still wasn't big yet.
Yeah.
So I just had a long history and being in some great meetings. You know, Sherry Basson.
Yeah.
And you know, Teddy Nolan. Like, this is a great piece of our history, as you know, getting to be Memorial Cup champions. You know, being there in our hometown, being at the game. To win it all, and you know, it was a lot of fun for me growing up to be kind of a part of it during some great times. It was a great part of our history. And then you know, people forget, man, I've been living in Texas for almost 21 years, Ernest. And then before that, 2 years in the minors, 4 years of college, and 1 year in Cambridge playing junior B. So being a full-time resident of the Soo since I was 17 when I left, you know, it's been a long time, but it's home. It's home, and a big part of it's hockey, and a big part of it's the Sault Ste. Marie Grounds. And they, even though I never played for them, I got a lot of lessons learned. I got a lot of motivation for not playing for them, and you know, for me, going a chance to get a scholarship to a great school like Michigan.
Smart move.
I feel pretty lucky.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before I get on to the next little segment here, the American system has definitely improved in the last 20 years. And you see so many teams in the OHL, they're actually either got 3 or 4 Americans on the team, or they're half and half. Yeah,
there is. I mean, you got to give this country, where I'm at right now, a lot of credit. USA Hockey is taking a lot of great strides. Really doing some great things. I learned a lot from Hockey Canada and what's going on up north, and how to train players and how to play winning hockey, and also be smart about it. You know, Canada having the first stop sign on their back and playing the game with respect. So Canada's really good down here in Dallas, man. We're about to have 19 sheets of ice that we own and operate just as a hockey club, which is unheard of in pretty much professional sports in North America. But there is, you know, so the college hockey was really good. I mean, I think we're so spoiled with the Greyhounds, you know, right across the river, Lake Superior State, in the late 80s and the 90s, man. We were, just as a hockey community within short radius, we had some unreal experiences. I didn't really watch them then because I was all in on the Greyhounds and playing hockey myself. But we're pretty lucky, and it's a great sport. I mean, it's been good to me, but you know, it's a very fabric of what we do in the Soo. And you know, I tell people all the time, 70-some thousand people, and I'm not even close to being the best goalie from Sault Ste. Marie in the history of our town.
My drug dealer, pharmacist, is Jake McCracken.
Oh yeah, he's a good man. I like Jake a lot.
Yeah,
I'm really proud of him. And a lot of guys. He was super smart, but he's a heck of a goalie.
Yeah. So with your, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to ask you the cliche questions that you've been asked a million times. I'm going to ask you one interesting question, maybe two. over the course of your career, aside from a hockey player, or even if it's not a coach, somebody that really impacted your life and the way you look at life, overall? Is there any besides your dad?
Yeah. Well, my parents and sisters are great. I got a lot of great buddies, but I think there's two that really, really resonate to me. Can almost say three, because both my Bantam midget coaches were great, Mike Zook and Abby Caricato. And Abby particularly, what he did for me in my life, as I was growing and getting stronger, that, he came to me one day and he said, "Hey, you gonna try?" And I was like, "What are you talking about, Abby? I try." Like, he goes, "You like this?" I'm like, "I love it." He goes, "I know you love it. Why don't you put a little extra effort in, try to make your teammates better and see what you can do?" And I was like, "Okay." Yeah, I mean, and, it was just at that perfect moment for me, looking back, of being able to practice a lot harder, because I had this a little more size to do so, but also knowing that those peering eyes were over there. And 2 months later, we go to the playoffs, first year midget, and we almost run the table, and we were middle of the pack. Didn't lose a game for a long time, and we ended up losing to the eventual champions in the playoffs. But that just kind of opened my eyes to, like, okay, you kind of get out what you put in. And he was a stern coach, and the next year went to their Canada Cup. We hadn't done that in Soo since Ronnie Francis, his teams, and his experience being the first coach for the Greyhounds when they came into the league, and all the other experiences he had were really great for us. And for us to go there, Canada Cup was really special. And then, it's a couple years later, go and play for a guy in Ann Arbor from Saskatchewan that kind of was a self-made guy. Red Berenson was our coach. I'll even just describe Red. You can imagine the lessons that he taught us. Red came all the way down to Ann Arbor, won a national championship in the 60s for University of Michigan. Gets drafted, after his last game of college hockey that they lost in the Final Four. Actually, they won a national championship. I take it back, his senior year, and then he left to go to Montreal, and he played for Montreal Canadiens. Like 2 days later, they told him, "Hey, we're a stacked team," and they were, in the 60s and early 70s, and they said, "We don't need you, man." And so he's like, "I can go back and get a job." He wore a helmet, which was kind of frowned upon back then. First guy to wear a helmet. He got his MBA. He got his MBA in the summertime, so everybody else was working or training. He went and got his MBA over the first couple of years of professional hockey. Played 15 years. He was at the Canada Cup or the 1972 Summit Series. He was on that team. Played 15 years in the NHL. He was the only guy ever to score 6 goals on the road. Sittler scored 6 goals, but it was at home.
Yeah.
And, then he went to University of Michigan, became coach, and just couldn't help it but just lead young men. And he really genuinely cares about us as humans, being a good son, boyfriend, future husbands and fathers, than he does of us being just a hockey player. And it was real, it was genuine. And I was around a lot of great guys like Mike Zook and Abby Caricato and Red Berenson that have just left a lasting impression on me, and forever grateful for having their tutelage over a short period of time.
Perfect. That's what I was looking for, something out of the ordinary. That's great, Marty. So you're living in Texas, and we talked yesterday, and you're bringing you had a hockey practice. I know you have 2 daughters and your son. So, and these days there is girls' league. So the practice this morning, it was with your son, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay. Little guy on the ice.
So what position does he play?
He's a defenseman. He's been a D-man for a couple of years.
Okay.
He's good little skater. He's just starting to grow. He's small, not the smallest guy on his team, but he's I just tell him, man, at my age, I was 3 inches shorter than him.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Don't worry about it, bud. You'll grow. And he's starting to, so it's fun to watch him mature.
So to Canadians here, we think of Texas, as heat and football, college football and stuff like that. Obviously, since the Stars have a franchise there, hockey, you got more on the radar. But what's the scene for hockey and leagues around the Dallas area? Like, I mean, obviously, well, I mean, I don't know. So is it a lot of private leagues or is it just popping up? Like you said something about 14 ice pads or something?
Yeah. So Texas is big, right? We're obviously used to Ontario and Canada have big provinces. Texas is, one of the biggest states. It's really vast. The only AAA team is here in Dallas, though. Houston and San Antonio and Austin don't have AAA teams. They don't have the infrastructure or the history. But the only NHL team for 800 miles is right here in Dallas, and so that certainly helped. We came here in 1993. We needed ice, so we created some buildings, and over the last 15 years, we built a bunch. Some private that we own, some with a public partnership with some smaller cities in the DFW area. And so I think people they're more than pleasantly shocked when they come down here to see the talent pool that we do have. A lot of it is due because of the Stars' commitment to youth hockey, boys and girls. I run the foundation for the Dallas Stars. I get to do a lot with disabled people, old veterans, sled hockey, really starting to work with, deaf hockey players, get them involved, blind too. So it's really, really, really taken off. And so it's pretty similar to probably, Detroit or Toronto or Chicago, where we all have club teams and the players that can't play club or, it is expensive because you have to travel because, we don't have as many hockey players as we would concentrate in Canada, especially in the GTA. But we do, like our AA teams, we play each other. We have 5 or 6 clubs around the Dallas area that are really good, that are like travel hockey. And, my son who's playing AA, he will be in Salt Lake next weekend. Vince Chicago. Our league forces us to get to San Antonio, Houston, Austin. We're going to Amarillo this year. Usually teams come to us because we have so many different organizations here. It's easy for them to come and knock out 2, 3, 4 games on a weekend. But it's awesome. 2 girls in this neighborhood right here in University Park are at Penn State on full scholarships. These twins, really good hockey players. One's a forward, one's a defense woman, and they're dynamite hockey players. And if you walk into our main rink that we used to practice in, Ernest, they have banners of all the players that played OHL, college, or in the NHL and got scholarships. The building's full. Full. I mean, I don't know if it's 80 or if it's 120. It is so many kids, boys and girls, that have grown up here and have gone on to do some pretty cool things. The Jones brothers are playing for the Blackhawks, came from here. Blake Coleman, that's with the Flames. He grew up in Plano, Texas. Won 2 cups with Tampa Bay. Started off in New Jersey, and there's more kids like that, and a lot more on their way. So we got some catching up to do to some northern cities, especially Canada. But we're very proud of what we're doing here, and as a Canadian, small town Canadian kid to come down here 20 plus years ago to watch hockey thriving and be part of it on a daily basis it's really rewarding. And it's been just fun to go around the rinks, have a coffee, and talk with the parents and meet the kids. And I didn't get to go to Toronto 7 hours, Detroit's 5 hours away. Like I went to one NHL game until I was in my 20s. I went to one and sat at the top of Maple Leaf Gardens, and I'm like, the players are so far away, I just didn't get to appreciate it. But Hockey Night Canada, man, I just left such a lasting impression on me. And growing up in Canada, I tell my son, I'm like, I'm jealous of you in so many ways. I said, but I kind of do wish I could build a rink for you in the backyard. Right now, it's 60 degrees out today, a little gloomy, but it's good for the golf game. It's not as good for the outdoor stick skills for the boys and girls around here. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome, man. So I understand you've been living you live in Highland Ford, right? No, I'm just Highland Park.
Highland Park, yeah.
Yeah, Highland Ford is a Sault Ste. Marie reference to anybody not from the Stewart doesn't know Marty. So before I move on to what you're doing right now, or you've restarted it, what made you decide to make Texas your permanent home? And right now, everything is open right now, correct?
Yeah. Our rink's never even been, we closed for about a week at the beginning of the pandemic, and We are wide open for business. Kids are in school, no masks.
Kids
There's
are
a
in
few
school.
private
I
schools I
mean,
think have it.
we're all jealous here. I don't know if you're aware. We just got. I got to be careful because YouTube does a lot of censoring.
Well,
We just.
I know, but we're well aware. I got the business in Kingsville.
Yeah.
So we went home. We were home for Christmas and in November as well. Hadn't been there for 15 months. We have a house in the Soo, so we like to get back and see the Finns and my family and all of our friends and everybody else. So yeah, we're open. We're like, we choose to live life and deal with things as they come and try to be respectful as possible and help each other out when we can. So it's a simple way to look at it.
Getting back, so what made you decide to stay? What is it about Dallas and Texas that just appealed to you that you wanted to raise a family?
Well, when we go home, especially when we head out to Search Mount or go down the line, or even just out at our place and just past the West End there by the airport, it's Northern Ontario and Sault Ste. Marie is just so pretty. Someone told me early in my career here in Dallas that, hey, once you realize how ugly Dallas is, you'll learn to love it. And that was darn true. It's flat. The prettiest thing we got are flowers and trees, and they're not even blooming all year round. So what Dallas is, playing here for 10 years, drafted 94, lived here from 2000 to 2010. All the kids were born here. This is really my professional career was right in Dallas. I played Chicago 1 year, family was living out of the Soo Lake House. During my last year trying to play, where I was doing TV and played for the Red Bulls in Austria to finish with the Bruins. So it's when there's only 2 years that we were gone, and we just like, man, we miss it. We missed people. And I knew as a post-career, the opportunities that came with being in Dallas were greater than anywhere else. We certainly would love the opportunity to go back to the Soo and live and just slow things down. But I'm a busy guy. I like to be busy. I get to work for the Dallas Stars again. Not too many guys get to have that opportunity. There's only so many jobs, but I relished it. And I think that's where, seeing my parents work their butts off when I was young, to getting a chance to go, 4 years at the University of Michigan, to see that. So I really do appreciate it, and more than anybody probably even knows, to have a chance to play one game in the NHL, never mind play over 500 as a goalie. And then knowing that there's more and there's life ever after it. And then so to, watch my kids grow up and be part of that. And you'll hopefully appreciate this one, Ernest. My oldest, she's now a sophomore in college at Miami of Ohio, just outside Cincinnati. And remember after a couple years of being retired, she's like, hey, what do you do again, Dad? And at this time I hadn't had a full-time job, and I was just trying to figure out my way. And then I do a lot of charity work. And so one kid asked me one time, he's like, yo, Mr. T, why you work, man? Everybody just assumes athletes make all this money and gonna go sit on the beach for the rest of their life. And my answer was, and I never really thought about it, to my knowledge, maybe subconsciously, but I said, because I want my kids to see me working. And, my dad was a shift worker at the plant. My mom, once I went back to school, I was the youngest, she went and cut hair. And anyways, this was a lasting impression on me. And it's just true, Kelly and I are normal people who've lived a life. We love it here in Texas. If I could go back to my playing days of like school year in Dallas and summers in the Soo, I mean, life couldn't be any better weather-wise and people too. So Texas is great, Ernest. It's an amazing city. It's thriving. The economy might be the best on the planet. People, my neighbors, from Illinois, Canada, New Mexico, you name it. A lot of transplants are here. It's not just, we're all a bunch of Texans, even though I got 3 living in here right now that are my kids. It's a special place. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoy football. Cowboys rule down here, but it's a sleepy little hockey town too, so we get to enjoy that.
Nice. So the Mr. T reference, I pity the fool that hasn't said that before.
That's right. My dad was Mr. T. My mom was Mrs. T growing up, and no resemblance to Clubber Lang, but yeah, we did pity the fool, except for when it snowed for 3 months straight up in the Soo. I like it to visit, but I don't want to test my shoveling skills anymore.
Okay, so now I know you rekindle Kingsville. You started that in 2016. That's the brewery that you started with your cousin.
Yeah, yeah. Mark Muzzin, my cousin, his dad Louis Muzzin grew up with my dad in Buckley there in the West End, and went to school, and drove cars and played hockey and played baseball together. And then Louis ended up in Windsor, and that's where my cousin grew up. And his wife Isabella, they were her dad was in the wine business. She's a sommelier, so they understood the intricacies of this business. And so we went into partnership and created a brewery 2016, incorporated 17, and we're still kind of getting our feet underneath us, but we brew our own beers right there in Kingsville. We got 5 great SKUs. Derek Billacraley, our brewmaster, is fabulous. He makes me look great every day. I got to go sampling with people.
Oh, no,
just delivering really good beers, and just really Main Street beers. That's the one thing I'm most proud of, is that in this crazy world of new cocktails or high alcohol beers or other things, our beers are pretty low ABV, and they're kind of meant to be enjoyed with family and friends, and being responsible. And I think, growing up in the Molson the Bat, Northern Brewery, days of, having fun with draft balls, right? Like, it's a very interesting business, but our stuff is all great. It's clean, organic. We aim for a better for you and just a good, healthy lifestyle. And, beers have been around a long time. They're not going anywhere. So it's been really interesting. It's like a family business, and that's how we treat it, even though, got to raise money and we have partners.
Yeah.
And then living down here, I'm like, man, if we're going to do a brewery, I want to bring it to Texas, right? This is where my street cred's at. So we did that a little over a year ago. And so now we're down here slinging beers as well. And had one yesterday at the Penguins Stars game at American Airlines Center. Our beers are served in there at a few places. So look forward to it growing and sharing more beers with people.
I was going to say, you obviously, before I looked at the website, I was going to ask you a cliche question. Obviously, a little bit of a joke. I say you chose us. Where's it? Stolesville? In Southern Ontario. Where is it?
In Kingsville. So it's named after the city.
Okay, I don't know where I am thinking Stolesville. So Kingsville. Yeah, so you chose Canada because we have better water.
Oh, well, the Great Lakes, right?
Yeah.
The Great Lakes for one. And,
is there even a lake in Texas?
We have, I mean, thousands of lakes, but there's only a few that are natural, and they're all nasty. They're muddy. You can't see them. They're used as reservoirs, as holding tanks, because we don't have great aquifers. So you guys are spoiled up there. You should enjoy the good, clean water, cold too. But yeah, Canadians make great beer. We're very well known for hockey and multi-languages, knowing each other, being very gracious, fun people, but having great beer, and that's a big part of it.
So I was going to ask you, and you've already alluded to it. So I guess you're going to be marketing back, because Dallas has given you so much, right? They've really given you so much. So now it's your way of bringing back to the Dallas and Texas community with your beer, so that they know what a real beer tastes like, right? Yeah.
And that, one of our taglines we haven't even dropped yet is conceived in Canada, born in Texas. And it's kind of like me for my professional career. I'll never not be from the Soo. That's my hometown. It's given me every opportunity to be successful and in life and have a great, amazing upbringing. But the NHL, the draft brought me to Dallas, which was scared the bejesus out of me the day I got drafted. I was never more south than North America than Detroit. I was thinking of J.R. Ewing and South Fork Ranch, to the Cowboys and like steers and rodeos. Like it was an eye-opening experience. And so it's kind of a microcosm of my life to just do that, like you said, Ernest, give kind of like follow my footsteps and give them some great beer, and certainly wasn't the only good goalie in the Stars history, but I'll be one, and we'll bring some more Canadian. No one really markets Canadian beer down here, so we got a little niche to do. And hockey people are crazy and rabid, and but we kept the name Kingsville because it's a powerful, strong name. And there's a very famous Kingsville in Texas, actually, and that's the home of King Ranch, like the Ford F-150 King Ranch. So people think like that. All the power to them. Yeah, we make great beers, and it's been a fun venture, And I do have to share, because I think it wasn't why we chose Kingsville, but when I was at Michigan, I used to go to Kingsville and have lunch with the late, great creative Mr. Brian Heaton. And Brian Heaton, for the hockey people, right? He's the guru that he had Heaton goalie equipment that I wore. He is the Brian of Brian's, which obviously no longer. He let that one go a long time ago. But unfortunately, the young man passed away probably 6-7 years ago, and in a horsing accident, I believe. And but he left an indelible impression on me. He made most of my equipment for my career. And first time I was ever in Kingsville was having lunch with him to talk shop, and he was making equipment for the Cujos and Hashicks, Patrick Laws and Brodeurs at the time, and he made all my gear for a decade plus. And so it's a little special piece of my life, and goaltending is a big part of the fabric of who I am and how it shaped my life. That going back to Kingsville reminds me of that, and in a really awesome way. His son Marshall works with us.
Oh, nice.
He helps us out around the building, and he's our master distiller. So maybe I'm dropping a little too soon, but we'll come out with our own vodka, gin, and whiskey here over time. And Marshall Heaton will be the guy behind it all. So it's been a great fun business for us.
In the rock part of this, I can include that you'd be like the Sammy Hagar, who's got his who had his Jose, no, not Jose, it was Cabo
Wabo.
And then he sold it, and now he owns a rum company worth millions. But yeah. So before I let you go, a couple quick questions. Well, one is first, let us know if you order Kingsville online, who picks up the delivery tab in the Soo?
Well, we feel so. I mean, the Soo's home, and people have been great supporters of Kingsville. That right now, because of the new lockdown, we're going to do free delivery for anybody that orders it online on KingsvilleBrewing.ca.com. Either way, we'll get those beers to you. We've done this program before, early in the pandemic, but we're like, you know what? Let's keep people safe. We'll bring it right to you. We'll call you, ring your doorbell, and leave. I've done some deliveries in the Soo myself when I was home a couple of summers ago.
Wow.
We'll deliver it to you guys. We want everybody to get back into the LCBOs and beer stores and down to Pino's, places that sell Kingsville. But during this time, we'll deliver for free for you guys, because we want you guys to enjoy great Canadian beer. And if you haven't had it, please do it. If you have, come get some more.
All right, I'll leave a link at the description part of this, and I'll also in the Greyhound article. Two more quick things, because I know you have things to do. It's a Hound Day. We play at 2:00 against Windsor, and I gotta do my game day warm up, grab my snacks.
Attaboy.
So rock wise, let's keep a little bit of rock and roll into this. So name your favorite rock band growing up or now. Adele and the Backstreet Boys cannot be included.
Well, I'm old enough, so those they weren't even in the repertoire back in the day. But I'm a 1975 birthday, and so those days of Rat and Poison in our locker room, and Slaughter. Ozzy probably got the most play, I bet you, in our locker room. Unfortunately, the first time I came home with a hip parader, I think I was with one of the Megalos walking over from the mall right to where we lived, right? I think there's some women had pasties on, so my mom didn't let me buy any more hip paraders. But my dad loved music, and growing up in the 80s and being in the locker room, whether it was hockey or soccer, rock music was the only part of my life growing up. And so those guys are great. Obviously the classics and Journey and Whitesnake and those groups. That was who we were, and then the 90s became good rock, and so Metallica probably dominated a lot of my professional locker rooms. Which is great. And I remember the day, Ernest, it was so sad. Steve Ott, speaking of Windsor Spitfires, he ran a lot of the music for us, and it started getting a little more poppy and top 20 later in my career. And then I went to Chicago, and these young kids that just won their first cup. And I remember they're playing, some super poppy stuff before a game, and I was like, "Are you guys serious?"
Jimmy
They're like, "Oh man,
World or something.
oh, I don't even want to say it. It was so embarrassing, and I'm like, you guys hear the lyrics to this? Like we're supposed to get amped up for a game right now? Like, no. Anyway. That was when I realized they lost it. I had to retire soon after that. But I mean, this, to this day, I mean, Kelly and I were on a trip with some couples over the New Year's, and every time a Canadian artist comes on, I'm just so proud to talk about, because people don't realize how many great artists that we've had over the last 40 years, and comedians and actors for that, and actresses for that matter too. So I was like, my Canadian pride. There's never a dull moment. And I'll tell you, for you, I'll tell you what's really cool for me is to go to San Jose. We had great rivals with San Jose Sharks. Really great teams. Jumbo Joe was over there, and Patty Marlowe.
Yeah.
Nabokov was a great rival of mine, and probably the coolest thing of all of it, not just getting a chance to play them in the playoffs, but that Neil Young was a season ticket holder of the Sharks, and I can't say I specifically heard him booing my name, but I'm pretty sure he was chanting Turco at some point. So many crazy great games we had there, and I just never forget it walking in there. We always played a Neil Young song before the game, and then when I played for the Blackhawks, I got a chance to see him live for the first time at Chicago Theater. It was one of the coolest experiences I had. So music is, I'm all over the road. I probably, just because I don't get much downtime myself, I listen to country music a lot now, but when I later half of the day when I'm having a beer, the rock music comes back out, and my kids can't believe I know all the lyrics to all these songs that they see on TikTok. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, just kind of couple quick things, and we will let you go. I know you're busy. I remember the Nagalos and me, we used to go get Hit Parader, and we used to actually be late for class coming down Malabar because we go to Max to wait for the Circus magazine.
Yeah.
And then you were saying about a lot of Canadian artists that Americans don't realize are Canadian. My last interview was with Paul Shortino. He's in Rough Cut. He was in Quiet Riot and all those bands, and this is Spinal Tap. I was talking about that, and he says, "Wasn't Hollywood Suite a Canadian band?" I said, "No, it was Honeymoon Suite, Paul."
That's close, though. He's close.
He was close.
He's on the right path.
He was. So anyways, I'll let you go. So it was great talking to you. It was really great to thank Stacy for helping me set this up, your sisters. You've got a great family, Vince, and Stacy's just awesome, and Nikki's a fine police officer here in the Soo. What do you have to say to the Soo Greyhounds fans and your fans and family in the Soo?
Well, it was a really impressionable time in my life, going to the Gardens and watching, but supporting your local team. We've seen in other cities. It's just, it's not, you can tell when you go back to Soo. We all want to be around a winner, but supporting a team that plays hard is super important, and it was important for me. I wish I would have been a Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound. That was always a dream of mine growing up. So again, go back and support them, and being in the Soo and going down to the Marconi and seeing all the iconic places that were so important to me growing up are great. So hey, Hound Power, baby. Going down the ice, see him moving. It was awesome. So good luck to the team this year and the fans, and look forward to seeing everybody hopefully in the summertime and maybe celebrating some hockey success.
All right. Thanks a lot, Marty. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ernest. You too, buddy.